Welcome back to Timeless Messages from the I Ching. This is Stephen. Thanks for tuning in. I hope you're doing well. So the question for this particular video is, what are the most important messages for the viewers at the time they find this video? Most important messages for the viewers at the time they find this video. Whether that's in 2 days, 2 months, 2 years, it doesn't matter. Because these are timeless messages and your divine self has brought you here for a number of reasons. So, without further ado, if you'd like to rest and relax, or if you're driving your car, just keep your eyes on the road, whatever you happen to be doing. If you have the opportunity to close your eyes and just have some stress reduction, take some deep breaths, that's always nice too. Here we go. The first hexagram, number 59, dispersion, disillusion, and the second, number 44, coming to meet. So, dispersion, disillusion, the gentle wind, the top trigram, the abysmal water, the lower trigram. Wind blowing over water disperses it, dissolving it into foam and mist. This suggests that when a person's vital energy is dammed up within themselves, indicated by the lower trigram of Kan, gentleness serves to break up and dissolve the blockage. So here we have the recommendation of gentleness. If you feel as though you have some vital energy that is blocked within yourself, gentleness can help you to break up and dissolve the blockage. Anger is probably not going to help you right now because it's just going to stir up the blockage even more. So whatever you're going through, whatever you're dealing with, if you've got some pent-up feelings, emotions, or energies, try to be gentle with yourself. Be patient. Things are going to work out just fine. That gentleness will help break things up and dissolve the blockage, whatever it is. Excuse me. The judgment, dispersion. Dispersion means to scatter, to disperse things. Success. The king approaches his temple. It furthers a person to cross the great water. Perseverance furthers. The text of this hexagram resembles Tasui. I'm not sure about the pronunciation about that, but Tasui, gathering together, number 45. In gathering together, the subject is the bringing together of elements that have been separated, as water collects in lakes upon the earth. Here, in this hexagram of dispersion, the subject is the dispersing and dissolving of divisive egotism. Well, what is divisive egotism? Well, divisive would be something that separates people. Egotism is the sense of self-importance, excessive self-importance, and talking and thinking about oneself excessively because of this excessive self-importance. So we're dissolving the self-importance of the ego, and dispersion shows the way, so to speak, that leads to gathering together. So dispersion occurs and then gathering together. This explains the similarity of the two texts of gathering together and dispersion. So, gathering and dispersing blessings, riches, offerings, giving away things, dispersing, and then you could say accumulating or gathering together again. Two sides of the same coin. Spiritual forces are needed to overcome the egotism that divides people. Common celebrations, such as great sacrificial feasts and sacred rituals, which have given expression simultaneously to the connection and articulation of family and state. These were the means employed by the great rulers to unite humanity. Sacred music and the splendor of the ceremonies aroused a strong tide of emotion that was shared by all hearts in unison, and that awakened a consciousness of the common origin of all creatures. In this way, separation and lack of unity was overcome, and stubbornness and rigidity was dissolved. A further means to the same end is cooperation and great general undertakings that set a high goal for the will of the people. In the common concentration on the goal, all barriers dissolve. Just as when a boat is crossing a great stream, everyone must unite in a joint task. But only a person who is themselves free of all selfish or ulterior considerations and who perseveres in justice and steadfastness is capable of so dissolving the hardness and stubbornness of the ego. The image, the wind drives over the water, the image of dispersion. Thus the kings of old sacrificed to the Lord and built temples. In the autumn and winter, water begins to freeze into ice. When the warm breezes of spring come, the rigidity is dissolved, and the elements that have been dispersed in ice flows are reunited. It is the same with the minds of the people. Through hardness and selfishness, the heart grows rigid, and this rigidity leads to separation from others. Egotism and cupidity isolate humans. Egotism, as already mentioned, the excessive self-importance and excessively thinking and speaking about oneself. And cupidity, interesting word, excessive desire for the accumulation of things and money. So, wanting to accumulate things and money and excessive concern about oneself and excessive thinking, talking about oneself. These are the things that isolate people from one another. Of course, there's other things too, but these are some good examples. Therefore, the hearts of humanity must be seized by a very strong emotion. The hearts must be shaken by a spiritual energy in the face of eternity and stirred with an intuition of the one creator of all living beings, and united through the strong feeling of fellowship experienced in the ritual of divine worship. So just like ice that freezes in the cold winter months and separates from other pieces of ice, so people are like these ice flows that become rigid and separate from one another through hardness and selfishness, this dispersion, this scattering apart. But eventually, the spring arrives and the water begins to melt and reunite with itself. And also, we can take this as an image of people working away from this stubbornness and selfishness within the heart that will eventually bring them back together from their separation. Perhaps in your own life, you've been separated from someone or a number of someones, and this is a consideration for you. Is your springtime coming soon to end this separation between you and someone else, if that would be desirable? Have your concerns for money or an excessive amount of thinking and speaking about yourself preoccupied you so intensely that you've not taken others into consideration, and like ice flows in the winter, have separated yourself through time and distance from others that used to be very important? Something definitely to consider. Sometimes it's necessary to have this type of scattering apart, separation, so that you can work on yourself and to improve things in your own realm. And then when the spring comes and the water melts and the separation energy dissolves, then you can reunite with these energies or with these people. Of course, if the separation was caused by a selfishness, by a hard-heartedness, by ignorance, by egotism, excessive concern and thought and speaking about yourself, or an intense desire for the accumulation of money and things, then perhaps it's wise to reconsider the approach that you're taking, and perhaps don't let your ice flows drift too far apart from others that have been and will be important in your life. So we have a couple of changing lines, 6 in the third place, starting with that. He dissolves his self, no remorse. Under certain circumstances, a man's work may become so difficult that he can no longer think of himself. He must set aside all personal desires and disperse whatever the self gathers about it to serve as a barrier against others. Only on the basis of a great renunciation can this person obtain the strength for great achievements. I'll read this once more. Only on the basis of a great renunciation, a letting go, can this person obtain the strength for great achievements. By setting the goal in a great task outside themselves, this person can attain this standpoint of attaining the great strength for great achievements. Of course, everything has a balance. You may be finding yourself in a position where you do have a lot of work to accomplish. And the idea of thinking about yourself and your needs and so forth and your desires may not help you realize the objectives that you have in front of you. Of course, there's always a balance. You have to think about yourself. You have to take care of yourself. So don't go too far in the extreme of not thinking about yourself in order to accomplish your goals, but try to have a balance. And you'll know when you have that balance because you'll feel strong and you'll feel right. Talks about a great renunciation. Is there something or a number of things that you can let go of so that you can have greater strength to accomplish some great achievements? And by setting your goal for a great task, you can attain this particular standpoint. It's important to think about things that you might be able to let go of. Perhaps situations, patterns, interactions with others, people who have not necessarily been strengthening for you. This great renunciation can take many different forms, for it will lead you to obtain the strength that you need to accomplish great achievements. Of course, your great achievements should not come at the cost of your health or your peace or your own well-being. Try to keep the balance so that you can prosper in terms of your peace and health, harmony and well-being as you climb the mountain toward your particular great achievements. 6 in the 4th place means he dissolves his bond with his group. Supreme good fortune. Dispersion leads in turn to accumulation. This is something that ordinary people do not think of. When we are working at a task that affects the general welfare of others, we must leave all private friendships out of account. Only by rising above selfish interests can we achieve something decisive. A person who has the courage thus to forego or let go of what is near wins what is afar. But in order to comprehend this standpoint, a person must have a very wide view of the interrelationships of life, and this is only seen and experienced by very unusual people. We want to read this last sentence again. A person who has the courage thus to forego what is near wins what is afar. What does this mean? So, could mean many different things. You have a goal that's a far goal away from you. You're trying to realize that far off goal. Therefore, you let go of things that are close to you, certain pleasures, certain things that could occupy your time and take away from the opportunity to focus on your particular goal. Of course, there has to be a balance. You can't work yourself into the grave. You have to be able to have happiness and peace and harmony as you apply yourself to this great achievement that is, quote unquote, afar, that is far from you. So letting go of what is close to you and working on something that is far from you. And in order to comprehend this particular perspective, you have to have a really deep view of life, and only unusual people are able to attain this. Contemplation and meditation and seeking the inner guidance, your inner light, can help you with this standpoint of foregoing what is near to win what is afar. For keeping your peaceful vibe as much as you can, that harmonious, peaceful vibe will help you leave all the other unpleasant, chaotic, and negative vibrations that have not led you to your goal previously and will not lead you to your goal now. So peace and harmony are definite helpers along the path as you move up the mountain. So whatever circumstances you happen to be living in right now in your particular situation, try to see if you can cultivate harmony and peace rather than being disrupted and feeling isolated from your own well-being. Now we move to the second hexagram, which can be thought of as the other side of the coin. The first hexagram can be a very direct message to you about how to proceed in the particular situation that you find yourself in, or it can paint the picture of the situation that you find yourself in as well. The second hexagram, coming to meet another perspective, another viewpoint on how you can manage and move through the particular situation in your life right now in a more graceful and strong way. This hexagram indicates a situation in which the principle of darkness, after having been eliminated, secretly and unexpectedly, rises again from within and below. If you look at the lower trigram, the yin feminine line has come down to the very bottom, the foundation of the gentle wind, and all the other lines above are yang or masculine. Of its own accord, the female principle comes to meet the male. It is an unfavorable and a dangerous situation, and we must understand and promptly prevent the possible consequences. This can take many different forms. Perhaps literally a female has come to meet you. You could be male or female, but perhaps there is a feminine or female principle that has come to meet you, and this paints an unfavorable and dangerous situation. So be on guard and pay attention. The hexagram is linked with the fifth month, June and July, because at the summer solstice, the principle of darkness gradually becomes ascendant again. The judgment coming to meet the maiden is powerful. One should not marry such a maiden. The rise of the inferior element is pictured here in the image of a bold girl who lightly surrenders herself and thus seizes power. This is referring back to the yin line at the very bottom of the lower trigram. So this bold girl who lightly surrenders herself and thus seizes power. This would not be possible if the strong and light-giving element, the yang lines above, had not in turn come halfway to meet her. The inferior thing seems so harmless and inviting that a man delights in it. It looks so small and weak that he imagines he may play with it and come to no harm. The inferior man rises only because the superior man does not regard him as dangerous and so lends him power. I'll read this differently so anyone can understand it. The inferior person rises only because the superior person does not regard this person as dangerous and so lends this person power. If the inferior person were resisted from the very beginning, they could never gain influence. Now pay attention, because there may be some person in your life who is contacting you or trying to get into your life or have some sort of influence, someone who may be bold and who, if you were to allow them into your life, would seize power. Pay attention. Be careful. The inferior person rises only because the superior person does not regard them as dangerous and so gives them power. The time of coming to meet is important in still another way. Although, as a general rule, the weak should not come to meet the strong, there are times when this has great significance, such as when heaven and earth come to meet each other. All creatures prosper. Or when a prince and his official come to meet each other, and the world is put in order. It is necessary for elements that are predestined to be joined and mutually dependent upon each other to come to meet one another halfway. But this coming together must be free of ulterior or dishonest motives, otherwise harm will result. So what is in your life right now that looks harmless and inviting and that you perhaps delight in? It looks so small and weak, and you imagine that you may interact with it or play with it and come to no harm. What is it in your life that resembles this? Is there something there that meets these criteria? So if you are the strong and light-giving element, be aware of what you are coming to meet halfway. Is it an inferior element, an inferior person who could have harm and create danger for you in your life? Don't lend this person or this situation power, because if you were to lend this situation or this person power, you could come to significant harm. If you resist this element or this person from the very beginning, they will never gain influence. So retain your harmony, retain your peace, and your clarity, and make the wisest decisions. On the other side of the coin, such as heaven and earth, or prince and his official, these paint images of the weak coming to meet the strong, where it's actually a harmonious thing, because the elements are joined together. They're predestined to be joined together in a mutually dependent and harmonious way. But you have to ask yourself, if I come together, if I come to meet with this person or this situation, am I free of ulterior motives? Are they free of ulterior motives or dishonest motives? What are their motivations? What are my motivations? And if the motivations and motives are clear and harmonious and not dishonest or ulterior or hidden, then harm will not result. But if the motives are dishonest and hidden, then harm will result. You have to answer that question before you come to meet or come together with this person or this situation. The image under heaven wind, the image of coming to meet. Thus does the prince act when spreading his commands and proclaiming them to the four quarters of heaven. The situation here resembles that in hexagram 20, Quan, contemplation. In contemplation, the wind blows over the earth. Here, the wind blows under heaven. In both cases, it goes everywhere. There, in contemplation, the wind is on the earth and symbolizes the ruler taking note of the conditions of his kingdom. Here the wind blows from above and symbolizes the influence exercised by the ruler through their commands, as in from heaven down to earth. Heaven is far from the things of earth, but it sets them in motion by means of the wind. The ruler is far from the people, but the ruler sets them in motion by means of the commands and decrees they speak forth. So you are like this ruler in your own realm, and the wind is representative of your commands, the words that you speak forth, that you spread through your kingdom, your realm, to the four quarters of your realm. So by this power, you set things in motion. So what things are you setting in motion in your own life? What powers are you activating? Are the powers that you're setting in motion, the situations and the experiences and the people, are these things the best things for you to be setting in motion? Or is there inferior portions or parts, elements, patterns within you, people as well, that are looking to come to meet you? Would this be wise? Would it be good for this person or this situation to enter your life? Pay attention. If there's harm and danger in the back of your mind from inviting a person or thinking that I can delight in interacting with this small and weak element or situation or person and not come to any harm, think again. The I Ching is guiding you to resist the inferior energy, the inferior person, and not lend them or the situation power so they can't gain influence and create problems and harm for you. This hexagram points to the very likely probability that there is a situation or a person, a principle of darkness, an inferior person, an inferior element, an inferior situation, a situation that, having previously been eliminated secretly and unexpectedly, returns again. So be on the lookout, pay attention, and be careful. I hope these messages help you, and if you have the opportunity, please listen again to this reading, jot down some of the most important ideas, and take care.